You're watching Public Comment every Thursdays at 8 a.m. The live stream. Detroit is different and Bridge Detroit. Local politics of Detroit. All right. Welcome back to Public Comment, June 13th, 2024. We in the throes of Detroit summer now. It's hot as all get up, but we like that. Khary Frazier here of Detroit is different with the co-host of this Public Comment experience, always municipal information. Actually, it's off of the notebook that he has. Malachi, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Summertime, bringing the heat.
Yes, definitely. A Detroit summer is something that we always love. And we actually are like in a transition where y'all gonna get some national information soon because city council gonna go on break for a little bit. But it's so much politically happening with these state races and these federal races that we gonna keep rolling with public comment, and we kind of gonna be sitting back in both like the asking questions, and I think I'll still be giving my color commentary as usual. So, Malachi, as we prepare for that, council, what's the tone? Week back, fully back from Mackinac. What was happening down at City Council? And then we'll get into this.
Yeah, so I think we want to probably follow up on a story that we talked about a little bit last week, the controversy over the murals. One piece of that was that local artists are trying to establish a council of the arts that's required by the city charter. So the city's, founding documents require that there is this council. Basically, it's an advisory board made up of local artists who are selected by the mayor, and they advise the city on, public arts and culture projects, how to involve Detroiters, how to, better reflect the city in those projects. And this was seen as important because of the Street Art for Mankind mural project, which hired a group of international artists. I remember the first time we talked about this on the show, we were talking about, who was going to get the work. And you were like, wait a minute, they're not even from Detroit. And I was like, they're not even from the country. They're international.
I know, it's like they can't even be in the Olympics for us. But all right, we gonna get to that. We gonna kick off with actually something that, a story that kind of leads everything that you have in the notebook. Ambulance, and a lot of ambulance bills are being not acknowledged anymore, which is actually like a real cool thing. So Detroit City Council writes off the outstanding debt of two accounts for the AccuMed EMS, which I don't know how people know this whole thing of when you call 911, that costs you money. That's not anything free. It will cost you money. And on the Detroit City roads and balance sheet, there are debts that go back to the 90s of people that have not paid. So since then, some of those people have passed on. Some of those people have hardships. Some of those people probably, as they said, like aren't even residents possibly in Detroit anymore or Michigan. Maybe they're international residents right now. And this was something that I thought that was a deep story. $125 million in medical debt was nullified by city council. And in this, I really just wanted to uplift that when you call 911, that will cost you money. I think some people know that. I don't know if all people know that. You definitely are supposed to call 911 if you are an emergency. But, all those stories of people saying, man, I drove myself to the hospital when I was stabbed or shot or having a heart attack. It's like, I don't think that that's the smartest thing to do. But calling the ambulance because you stub your toe probably isn't something that you need to think of. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. And then we can kind of roll into something else that's like health related. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say that this debt goes back to the 90s. It's medical bills that basically the city's given up on trying to collect. And the people, we were trying to get more information. City council members were asking questions about like, okay, so how many people owe this $125 million in ambulance emergency services? What are the demographic breakdowns? The city didn't have all that data, but they did say that for the majority of the people, it's either they have some kind of financial hardship. Some of them have actually probably passed away. Others are uninsured. And so this is just a lot of like outstanding medical bills that people are just not ever going to be able to pay. So the city decided that, instead of spending time and resources in trying to collect these bills, it's better to just write it off and kind of move on. And they're actually looking at doing something similar for delinquent parking fees, which I think is pretty interesting because obviously since the ticket rates were jacked up and now I think it's $45 for a ticket unless you pay immediately, and through the city's program, you can get a half off discount on those. Although I've tried to use that before and it has not worked for whatever reason. There are
you and me, my brother.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe you put your license plate in and then it's supposed to like keep you in the database. And so I did that. And then the first time I got a ticket after that, it didn't work. It worked later on. So I don't know. I'm just saying, go find the link online and sign up for that program if you're not, because a very small number of the city's residents actually are signed up for the discount program. But yeah, I mean, there could be a lot of folks with outstanding parking fees, and maybe that's affecting people's ability to drive or get around or things like that. $125 million, quite a bit of money. It's not supposed to impact the city's budget though, or revenue projections. This is all kind of like old,
Yeah, I mean, just balance things out on the balance sheet.
Yep.
And when you talk about the city, something else, something that was very like a bigger discussion for almost about 2 years. District 3 rep City Council Scott Benson moves forward with the restaurant health ordinance, where now every restaurant will have information about their last health inspection posted. Definitely, if the restaurant is shut down, you'll know that it's shut down. But kind of like you were saying, it's like if the restaurant shut down, then you probably aren't in the restaurant in the first place because it's shut down. But this moves forward. This was very contentious over the past years because the thought process of what it could do for certain businesses if they are labeled and have to deal with this stress of being a business that gets labeled like, almost like with that scarlet letter. And now this moves forward a little bit. I think a little bit more, definitely a lot better than before, because it's always going to be green. It's going to be a QR code on the health inspection where you can read all about what that health inspection was. In my mind, I don't know where this relationship between inspection and community exists. I think that we should be looking to assist the business people. And I guess where that assistance stops at that business owner being neglectful towards things, that's a tough that's tough water. But also making sure that the city inspectors are, it's enough inspectors out there to cover ground for what these processes will be. When we looked at the budget, there aren't, for all these new restaurants and everything coming. I'm not, I'm not an expert on a lot of this, but it seems that will, if this ordinance moves forward like this, that department will need some more support of making sure that everything is covered, T's are crossed, I's are dotted. I know you got to add to this most definitely.
Yeah, so I guess there's probably a couple ways to think about this, a couple ways I've been thinking about it. So first of all, the new version of this that passed was a lot less contentious than the previous version that Benson had tried to get through the door in 2 years ago. And I think that's largely because he changed this like kind of street light color coding system with like a red, yellow, and green. And I think there were even some white signs in that, to a much more just kind of straightforward like green red sign situation. So if you pass a health inspection, you're in compliance, you get to put a green sign in the window saying like, yeah, we're good to go. Obviously, like, come on and eat in here. And if you're shut down, then you have to put a red sign in the door. But again, you're already shut down, so it's not like that sign is really information that people are going to use when they're deciding whether to eat at the restaurant or not. And then there's also just a QR code, colorless sign that would be put out if somebody fails a inspection, but is like working through those issues. And, business owners previously had issues with what happens if I have a minor issue that, puts me out of compliance technically, but doesn't shut me down. And it takes a couple of weeks for an inspector to come back out. That whole time I've got a sign on my business that says it's not safe to eat here, and that may not necessarily be the case for a range of violations. They're not all like rats in the soup. There's all kinds of things that like you can get a violation for that are on a scale of like intensity of like maybe I don't want to eat here. Oh, maybe I'll eat here, but so anyway, it's been kind of simplified, and that seemed to eliminate a lot of the concerns about this being like punitive for businesses. Benson has talked about this as being a dining with confidence ordinance. So it doesn't do anything to change how health inspections are done. It doesn't necessarily make restaurants themselves safer by increasing regulation or adding more teeth to health inspections or anything like that. It doesn't change the inspection process really at all. It basically just gives people more information when they're walking in if they want to see that green sign that says that they passed a health inspection, and then they have the ability to click the QR code and see what the latest inspection was. The inspections are also posted online, so again, I mean, people already kind of have the ability to do this. If you're going to go out to a restaurant and you're really concerned about health inspection reports, you can look that up. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm blah blah blah. My question would be, does like who really is like looking for this information? I guess it's good that it's out there and people can have it if they want it, but is it really going to change like behavior with how people are going to restaurants? It's not really something that I think about personally. I mean, maybe other people are more concerned about how the health inspections have gone recently and they look that up before they're going, or maybe if they're going out with somebody with dietary restrictions or something like that, but
Yeah.
it won't tell you about that really. So I'm just kind of like, I don't think it's like a negative thing for businesses. I think it's good to have more transparency and give people more information about this, but I also don't necessarily see what's really changing in terms of like making the restaurants safer. So
I can say this, and right here is a good time to uplift this. Edric of In the Business of Food does a series of classes for people for Serve Safe certification, and that certification helps learn a lot of the food safety rules, protocols that you should know if you're in the business of food, in the business of food. And that's out of Eastern Market. I just interviewed her on Detroit is Different not too long ago. I would say that that's an asset for all the food entrepreneurs that are thinking to themselves, like, damn, now I got to deal with the government inside my business. There are protocols that definitely are needed. But so I can uplift that. And I do think that just keeping a balance of where things rely on what's fair, what's not fair between pop-ups and food trucks and even, you know, even countertops, countertop kitchens. It's so many places where you can get food, and all of these places that need to be inspected, and where those health inspectors are, how they travel, where they travel. We know that just from the budget process. Shout out to Bridge Detroit, Outlier Media, and then was it Data Driven Detroit
I'm sorry.
that helped with breaking down the budget in all of the aspects of the budget.
It was Outlier Media, Detroit Documenters.
Detroit Documenters, Bridge Detroit, Outlier Media all came together to really unpack a lot of the details of the budget this past year, which was so helpful. And when you look at that, it's not a lot of inspectors to like really cover that full footprint. And we just have to be more aware of what this is. And for those people that do have allergies, definitely knowing so many people with allergies, like shellfish allergies, but you may be able to eat fish. And if shrimp cooked on the same grill as salmon, and how does that mix and things like that. Like, it's more questions that are asked, but also within this, like, capacity for certain kitchens, you want to make sure that certain restaurants can do what they need to do. It's layers in so many of these discussions, I think, with this. And that's why I do believe this is a better iteration of it, because it doesn't like kind of leave a business with a scarlet letter, because definitely that's how people are going to think. People are going to think if it's shut down and you see like a red sign, you're going to think it's rats in the soup. You know what I'm saying? You just going to think it's like that horrible shout out G Mac Cash, the Popeyes got roaches song that came out a couple years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that was actually cited as a reason to do it. Benson talked about that Popeyes as being
the Popeye.
So yeah, I mean, I think that, well, here's some other kind of key information. I'd like to look more into this. So during the committee conversations, they said there were 41 foodborne illness allegations reported in Detroit last year. So basically they got 41 complaints.
And wait. And y'all know how the mind of Khary Frazier goes. It's like when we think of a footprint of a city this big with this many residents, and I looked at that 41 number and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I need to know the standard of, like, you know what I'm saying? Like in Columbus, Ohio, which I guess Columbus may have more residents than Detroit. So I don't know what's a comparable city. Like in Memphis, Tennessee or something, like how many, or Cleveland, what's, you know what I'm saying? Like, are they at like 5? You know what I'm saying? Or are they at 60? Or, you know, like what's the variance for me to even judge what's high or what's low?
Put that in context.
And then I know that I can already hear Scott Benson saying, well, it should be nothing. And it's like, I mean, it's gonna be something, but what's real? And then obviously for that person that had the foodborne illness, it's like, man, I hate this, you know. So definitely no offense to you either, but like, is 41 high? Is it low? What's the range? What are we comparing this to?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's hard. We have hundreds of restaurants, so I mean, if you look at it that way, it's few. It'd be few incidents per restaurant. I would also like to see what the allegations are and what the reports are, because apparently only 10 of those 41 met the state's definition as a foodborne illness outbreak, which again, these are like terms that need to be described more. What qualifies as that? You know, I don't have all the information.
No, that sounds scary as hell. That sounds like some.
Yeah, I think an outbreak would be. Yeah, I don't want to speculate. It'd be good to put those numbers in context. I mean, just gut check. It feels like that's a fairly low number given the number of restaurants that we have in the city and the number of people that are eating them at them. So my question would be, do we have serious concerns about restaurant safety in Detroit, or are restaurants generally safe and following the standards already? I think that part of the idea of this is that restaurants will strive to get that green sign as like a show again of confidence that Benson, wants people to have. So this could encourage, in a positive way, more safe improvements, so that people can post those signs, and maybe there will be a culture that emerges around, people wanting to see that green sign when they go to a restaurant. I don't know. I would love to hear more from people about, like, is this something that they actually think about when they're going out to eat? Because I don't know. I've never once really had that conversation with friends of mine when we're going out to eat, but I mean,
where's the health set?
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, right? So
so yeah, we'll I'm sure it'll be more conversations about this as it gets off the ground, because I already see the restaurant owners coming in and saying, but what about the guy with the hot dog cart? I see it already. So this is a sample of the sign for people to see. And that's a license, and that's what people are going to be looking for with the QR code. And it'll say in compliance. I definitely think that I would be using that as a marketing tool. Like, I'd be damn near framing that thing, you know what I'm saying, putting it up front for you to see it and feel healthy about it.
There were businesses that did this voluntarily. So in between the last time this ordinance came forward and actually got voted down by the council, and now, between that time, Benson basically launched a test run of this voluntarily. Businesses would put green signs in their windows, and a lot of them liked it. A lot of them felt that it was a, like you're saying, it was a marketable, it was a marketable thing. This goes into effect in 6 months. We should probably also say, so don't expect them out there like tomorrow. It's going to take a little bit of time for this to really get into effect. So,
yep. So right around Christmas season, you'll know when you biting into, I don't know what's Christmas food. I don't know your I don't know what Christmas food you eat. When you biting into whatever that Christmas food is,
gumdrops and candy canes and reindeer steak.
Exactly. Your gingerbread cookie man, you'll be like, hey, this is a compliant gingerbread man. All right. So now to the Art Council. And we spoke of this last week. We spoke about, actually, we may have spoken this at like the year-end wrap-up. This has been a continued discussion, especially being the I don't know. Let's use this term, I guess, because of the NBA Finals, the maverick attitude of the way that some murals for the NFL draft were paid for by artists. It led to like finding out more so the process. Shout out to Halima and Sydney. Both of them both of them were adamant about what's happening with the mural process for Detroit, which reviews the charter. The charter art council is supposed to exist, and right now there is no art council. But it's a lot of stuff in the charter that's inactive because of capacity. Uh, Capacity is very key for anything executing. When I say this, it's not like I'm advocating for the executive branch or I'm understanding of anything. I'm just understanding from me executing so many things myself with Detroit is different. Is this so many people's like, Khary, I thought we was gonna do this. We will do that, but I got to get capacity to do that, time, money, and energy, and other resources associated with it. But I do believe that an art council is necessary in the city of Detroit, especially when we have like the I forget what that is. Rochelle Riley is the art.
It's the Office of Arts and Culture
So we have an Office of
and
Arts and
Entertainment.
Culture and Entertainment. We should definitely have an art council, especially if it's in the charter. So it's back to like, where are the resources going in time to advise where things can go with a little bit of municipal support. I actually am supportive of an artist commission. Speaking of which, we should do like an update on that renters commission like sometime in like September or something, and just see how that's moving forward in process too. But things with executive action can be powerful for the city. And my council member, Callaway, was saying, yo, what's going on with the artist council? So I do believe that the way Callaway stays persistent on something, I would expect this to get some answers. The timetable of it moving forward and the mayor selecting everyone. I think that even though this is really right now, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like 1 year out of what would be a re-election cycle of a local election. I think this should be moved upon, hopefully by the fall, and get this together and then begin like some action of like maybe even a foundation if the art council could get in there and build like some type of process of what that would be.
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the show, kind of teased it out. We are in a holding pattern waiting to see what's going to happen with this Council of the Arts. Whitfield Callaway has asked the Legislative Policy Division to put a report together on what exactly the duties and responsibilities would be, and trying to see what it would take for the City Council to get appointees. Right now, all of them are selected by the mayor, and I think council members will like to appoint their own folks to that board as well. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of said it all. I don't really know what the holdup is, why this hasn't been created yet. The administration apparently is in conversations with artists about putting this together now in light of that mural controversy and the frustrations about local artists not getting work. But we don't really have a timeline on when that will be put together. So we're asking more questions about it and trying to see what the deal is. But I think that the situation with that New York nonprofit and the downtown murals for the draft kind of illustrate why it would be helpful to have an advisory board to work with the city on projects like this. Yeah, I mean, I think resident feedback is always important, but it kind of depends on who those members are. And I think there's also probably some skepticism about mayoral appointees. And so that always becomes kind of a political,
You got that right.
political tug of war when it comes time to picking the folks involved. So yeah, I don't know. We're interested. We're going to keep following up on this.
Most definitely, most definitely. So with that, this weekend y'all gonna get the commercial, but come on out Saturday for the collard green cook-off. So that's in a couple of days. What else is happening when Detroit is different? A couple other things. I'm thinking maybe just even in this, it was another story that you had about the police commission. And I want to unpack a little bit more about the police commission. That's why I didn't talk about it. So maybe during the downtime we can even talk about due to the election cycle, there are so many appointed people to the police commission already because there were not the last local election during COVID-19, there were not enough members that were running period in every ballot. So like there were certain districts that didn't have anyone listed in the position of police commission. Which led to a lot of my connection with Bridge Detroit. So this is like kind of going back. So the number one question I had with Bridge Detroit that started to tell us Detroit, and I don't even know if you know this, Malachi, was because it was during COVID-19 and we were under lockdown at the time from Governor Whitmer in the state of Michigan, it was like, oh, how are people going out here and getting their petition signed? Because technically, if I go out here and get my petition signed and I stand in front of Meyer, I'm breaking the law of what the governor says.
Yeah,
so
can you sign something 6 feet away? Yeah, really reaching.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of issues with signature gathering.
I mean,
Adam Holley got knocked off the ballot. Nasser Badoun got knocked off the ballot in the Senate race.
Yeah, we may want to just do a signature gathering, and we can start from COVID forward. But that was police commission was one of the big ones where it was the mayor already appoints a certain number of people, and a number of people run and are elected. And some of those elected positions did not have anyone in that position, so it was even more people appointed. As we're aware, I forget the commissioner's name that caught in the scandal of I guess he was
hiring a sex worker.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the most accurate way to describe that.
Yes.
It was Brian Ferguson, I believe.
Yep. So since then, so now it's going to be almost like a police commission of way more people with the mayor. And then this is also where like the balance of power. Some people look at it like the person who's mayor now. I'm just looking at it just from the balance of power itself, because the mayor obviously hires who's going to lead the police chief, and then you're appointing a certain number of people to the commission, and now you're appointing more people to the commission. And it was kind of a pushback of someone else that wanted to be there, that's a retired police officer. So it's like, I mean, police do need to be involved in the realm of what effective policing is, but at the same time, you know how it is. I mean, you get me to be the referee for Detroit Pistons basketball, it's going to be not a lot of fouls on people that are Pistons.
Well, just to give people a little bit of the news, there is an appointee who's up right now, and the council delayed the vote on that, and it wasn't clear why. But during her interview, there were some concerns about her being a former police officer, and some concerns that maybe there's already too many former police officers on a board that is supposed to create oversight and accountability for officers themselves. Yeah. So we're gonna see what happens with her appointment process, but I think it is worth looking into.
Yeah, let's dive in. And speaking of which, what's happening over at Bridge over this time?
We are having the first of our summer conversation series on Tuesday the 18th. It is going to be all about elections and voter access. We are going to have folks from the clerk's office there. It's not going to be a political event. We're not really talking to candidates or talking about, who you should vote for or anything like that. It's much more about how do you register? How do you get to your polling site? What kind of barriers might be in the way for people voting, that kind of thing.
And look, everyone has probably a new polling site because districts have completely shifted just due to the census numbers. Okay. Seriously. So if you're going to go vote in person and expect to go to the same, usually like a school or a church that you go to or recreational center, it's probably a new location. All right. And also the districts for state rep are completely changed. We spoke to, you can go back in our archives when Sherry Gay Dagnago came on public comment, and we spoke about it. And this was something that was rallied. And there are some interesting districts that stretch into Detroit and many a suburb. All right. Many a suburb with Detroit nowadays. So just be mindful, and that's going to be really cool. And you kind of take the lead. It's like your first, you lead the conversation. Usually it was the good brother Orlando Bailey that's over at Outlier Media now.
Yeah. RIP. No, he's not that. He's we love Orlando. We're missing him in these conversations because he brought a lot to it. And,
energy. Yeah.
I'm gonna be I'm a pale imitation.
Hilarious.
Literally.
Hilarious. And I probably gonna slide over there for a second. Lord knows I'm gonna be tired probably with all this collard green juice on me and editing, but that should be fun. With that being said, we're going to depart on this show with me and Sharia talking about collard greens. Check this. Khary, Frazier, Detroit is different with
Sharia Ayers of Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit and Black Leaders Detroit.
And guess what? We come in with more collards for the collard green cook-off again. The playoffs are taking place Saturday, June 15th, Joseph Walker Williams Center. You know where we at on Rosa Parks Boulevard, and you want to taste these collards. What else happening with Juneteenth?
Everything. So Friday, we have a partnership with Motown Museum for the kickoff. Saturday, we are celebrating life and liberation for life, because you cannot have liberation without healthy liberators. And then Sunday, we have our partnership with a number of organizations at the Eastern Market. So it'll be a full Juneteenth Freedom Weekend.
I know, but you know you want some cornbread. You know you want to be taking a shot of some pot liquor. And guess what? We also have Darius Twyman. He coming in with all types of inspiration and praise. But the number one thing, you want to see who cooked these the best. And also, we talking about growing them the best.
Yeah.
And not just in our hand, they're going to get in your stomach. Come on out, the collard green cook-off layoff, June 15th, Saturday, June 15th. Be there, Joseph Walker Williams Center. Check the bottom, lower third for the times and all that stuff. But sign up today. Thanks.